Orson Welles as Harry Lime. Hardly any malefactors in classic cinema exhibit both suave charm and merciless intent as effortlessly as Harry Lime in The Third Man, released in 1949. Operating a black market racket in post-war Vienna, Lime profits from diluted penicillin, causing untold misery. His offenses exceed mere greed. He exploits those already broken by conflict. Yet his magnetism is irrefutable, establishing him as among film noir's most compelling antagonists. A notoriously chilling episode involving Lime takes place atop Vienna's Riesenrad Ferris wheel, where he validates his disregard for morality with frigid detachment. In a celebrated monologue penned by director Carol Reed, he trivializes human misery by juxtaposing Italy's turbulent legacy with Switzerland's tranquil reputation, wryly commenting, "In Italy, for 30 years under the Borgias, they had warfare, terror, murder, and bloodshed, but they produced Michelangelo, Leonardo da Vinci, and the Renaissance. In Switzerland, they had brotherly love, 500 years of democracy and peace, and what did that produce? The cuckoo clock." Although this claim lacks historical accuracy, it epitomizes Lime's mindset, one that sees chaos as the crucible for brilliance and devalues human life. Despite appearing in only a handful of scenes, Lime's presence overshadows the narrative. His name is spoken in subdued murmurs, his misdeeds recalled with both horror and fascination. When he finally steps from the darkness, it occurs in among cinema's most iconic reveals. A fleeting moment in a murky doorway, his face briefly lit by a startling beam. That smirk, that cunning twinkle, an image that secures his place as a timeless villain. Lime's concluding scenes play out in the film's legendary sewer chase, a virtual clinic in noir cinematography. As he scuttles through the labyrinthine tunnels beneath Vienna, his former poise collapses. But even in surrender, his beguiling aura persists, a foe whose charm is as deadly as his actions. His legacy outlasts the movie itself. In 2003, the American Film Institute labeled him the third greatest antagonist in cinematic lore. Walter Long as Gus. Scarcely any scoundrels in early Hollywood history rival Gus from The Birth of a Nation, unveiled in 1915. Cast in a highly contentious manner, Gus emerges as a dangerous presence whose deeds spark the Ku Klux Klan's brutal ascendancy in the film's storyline. His representation embraces some of the film's most incendiary stereotypes, igniting public fury upon its debut. Civil rights organizations, including the NAACP, objected to the production, urging its restriction due to its provocative racial content. Historian Melvin Stokes maintains that depicting characters like Gus bolstered the perpetuation of racist sentiments, aligning with the Klan's revival during the 1920s. Although The Birth of a Nation often garners praise for its pioneering cinematic methods, its enduring influence is overshadowed by its blatant bigotry. Gus endures as among early Hollywood's most despised villains, not solely for his part in the narrative, but for the tangible repercussions his portrayal set in motion. Angela Lansbury as Mrs. Iselin. Few villains in Golden Age cinema exploit manipulation as aggressively as Mrs. Eleanor Iselin in The Manchurian Candidate 1962. Driven by cold ambition, she orchestrates a sinister conspiracy, using her own son, Raymond Shaw, as an instrument in a political assassination plot. Her hold over him remains disturbing, blending psychological leverage with disquieting intimacy, culminating in one of the film's most notorious scenes. The character epitomizes Cold War unease, reflecting prevailing fears of mind control and government infiltration. Directed by John Frankenheimer, the film leveraged real-world tensions heightened by events like the McCarthy hearings and the Korean War. Various theories suggest that Mrs. Iselin's persona took cues from actual political figures, though no explicit evidence has been confirmed. Her unwavering pursuit of power, devoid of ethics, establishes her as one of cinema's most petrifying parental antagonists. Many film experts and critics deem her a high watermark for manipulative villains, a role whose shadow still looms in modern political thrillers. Barbara Stanwyck as Phyllis Dietrichson. Few malevolent archetypes in old Hollywood exploit manipulation as lethally as Phyllis Dietrichson in Double Indemnity, 1944. A quintessential femme fatale, she entangles insurance salesman Walter Neff in a ruse brimming with deceit, luring him into homicide with the lure of riches. Yet money is secondary. Domination is her ultimate objective. Her alarming knack for feigning devotion while orchestrating double crosses establishes her as one of film noir's most perilous personas. Film historian Eddie Muller has credited Double Indemnity with defining the gold standard for noir, largely thanks to Phyllis's steely ingenuity. Even her appearance was fashioned to mislead. Costume designer Edith Head's choice of a platinum blonde wig lent her a synthetic, almost mask-like aura. Some propose this was intended to rob Phyllis of warmth, casting her more as a huntress than a partner. Her most notorious instance comes in the movie's concluding sequence, when she icily informs Walter, "I never loved you, Walter. I never loved you, you know that now, don't you?" The admission is ruthless, dismantling every pretense of affection, but her own plot ultimately undoes her, confirming that even the deftest manipulators cannot escape the snares they weave. Robert Mitchum as Reverend Harry Powell. Reverend Harry Powell in The Night of the Hunter, 1955, stands among film's most unnerving threats. A self-proclaimed preacher, Powell hides merciless ambition behind a veneer of piety, using religious rhetoric to mislead and manipulate. His infamous love and hate knuckle tattoos serve as a symbol for his warped sense of justice, which he reveals in a haunting monologue. Powell's unrelenting pursuit of two orphan children, believing they possess a secret fortune, transforms the film into a dark fairy tale. The stark black and white cinematography, influenced by German Expressionism, magnifies his near-spectral aura, casting him in elongated shadows that loom menacingly across the screen. His capacity to charm entire communities into trusting him, only to betray them through calculated brutality, cements his stature as one of the Golden Age's most malevolent figures. Although The Night of the Hunter faltered at the box office, subsequent critical reevaluations have celebrated Powell as one of the era's most memorable adversaries. Others propose that the film's initial commercial disappointment discouraged director Charles Laughton from directing again, leaving this as his sole film, a decision that continues to spark discussion among movie scholars. Vincent Price as Professor Henry Jared. In House of Wax, 1953, Professor Henry Jared starts off as a talented sculptor, devoted to creating lifelike wax tableaus. Yet after his business partner torches their gallery for insurance money, Jared is left scarred and unable to sculpt. His reaction is terrifying. He embarks on a killing spree, sealing actual human bodies in wax to preserve their flawlessness. Unlike numerous malevolent figures of the period, Jared isn't driven by avarice or dominance. His fixation on realism compels him toward dreadful extremes, establishing him as one of the Golden Age's most harrowing villains. The film, a remake of Mystery of the Wax Museum, 1933, seized upon the dawn of three-dimensional cinema. While some critics derided the 3D elements as gimmicks, observers at the time noted how they enhanced the film's macabre ambiance. One particularly memorable segment features a carnival barker batting a paddleball toward viewers, a sequence that exemplified Hollywood's early foray into 3D spectacle. Still, the true terror wasn't in the visual stunts. It lurked in Jared's victims, their rigid faces a ghastly tribute to his warped creativity. Myths persist that Vincent Price regarded Jared as a sorrowful soul, though explicit corroboration is scarce. Some suggest he portrayed the role with both menace and mourning, highlighting the character's collapse rather than his monstrosity. Whether or not Price voiced this directly, Jared's metamorphosis, from devoted artist to merciless murderer, secures his reputation as one of the most unnerving icons of classic horror. Boris Karloff as Dr. Fu Manchu. Released in 1932, The Mask of Fu Manchu introduced one of literature's most infamous rogues into the sound era of cinema. Dr. Fu Manchu, a brilliant yet sadistic mastermind, had already shaken audiences in silent films and Sax Rohmer's novels, but this adaptation heightened his malevolence. His schemes fused science and torture, from lethal electric traps to mind control serums, cementing his status as the quintessential evil genius. Boris Karloff's portrayal magnified the character's dangerous aura, although he was one of several actors to assume the role. It's often suggested that Fu Manchu's elaborate plots inspired later antagonists like Ernst Stavro Blofeld, though direct links remain unverified. The film's depiction of the character ignited enduring controversy, as it exploited exaggerated anxieties of foreign threat, a prevalent motif in early Hollywood. Even so, Fu Manchu's legacy as one of the most wicked malefactors of the Golden Age endures, his icy intellect and merciless ambition establishing the model for cinematic masterminds to come. Bette Davis as Regina Giddens. Few evildoers of Hollywood's Golden Age exercise power with the chilling precision of Regina Giddens in The Little Foxes, 1941. Adapted from Lillian Hellman's 1939 play, the film portrays Regina as a figure propelled solely by financial ambition, a rarity among female antagonists of the period. Unlike adversaries driven by revenge or romance, Regina's callousness is methodical. She manipulates, deceives, and even allows her husband to die, aware that his demise will secure her grip on their fortune. One of her most unnerving moments plays out in silence as she watches his fatal collapse, unmoved. Critics have long debated whether Regina's malevolence arises from social limitations or personal greed, yet the film provides no clear resolution. There are rumors that Bette Davis's famously frigid performance drew inspiration from her off-screen tensions with director William Wyler, though this remains unproven. In the closing scene, Regina stands triumphant yet isolated, deserted by those she aimed to dominate. With no remorse or atonement, her enduring reputation as one of classic Hollywood's most pitiless foes persists. Raymond Massey as Jonathan Brewster. Jonathan Brewster in Arsenic and Old Lace, 1944, stands out as one of classic Hollywood's most unnerving malefactors. A callous killer with a surgically altered face, he returns to his childhood home seeking respite, only to learn his seemingly benign aunts have been poisoning unsuspecting visitors. Unlike them who view their misdeeds as acts of mercy, Jonathan murders without hesitation. His towering stature and chilly demeanor provide a stark contrast to the film's darkly comedic style, making his presence even more disquieting. Raymond Massey's performance intensifies Jonathan's harrowing nature, casting a long shadow over each scene. Whispers persist that the character's eerie resemblance to Boris Karloff, who originated the role on Broadway, was deliberate, nodding to classic horror. Intentional or not, Jonathan Brewster endures as an unforgettable figure in Golden Age cinema, embodying a fusion of terror and absurdity that gives the film its distinctive allure. Judith Anderson as Mrs. Danvers. Mrs. Danvers, the menacing housekeeper of Manderley in Alfred Hitchcock's 1940 adaptation of Rebecca, serves as a textbook example of psychological torment. Cold, manipulative, and disturbingly loyal to the late Rebecca De Winter, she exerts an unsettling grip on the new Mrs. De Winter, driving her to the edge of breakdown. Unlike overtly brutal villains who depend on direct violence, Mrs. Danvers harnesses implication and coercion, her ominous presence asphyxiating every frame. An especially notorious sequence arises when she coaxes the young wife to linger at an open window, subtly steering her toward catastrophe. Some readings propose that Mrs. Danvers maintained an unhealthy fixation with Rebecca, fueling her unremitting cruelty. Though the film never explicitly confirms this, the suggestion lingers, intensifying her weight as a fearsome adversary. Lee J. Cobb as Johnny Friendly. Johnny Friendly doesn't just control the docks, he terrorizes them. In On the Waterfront in 1954, his reign is built on fear, extortion, and unyielding enforcement. Workers who challenge his authority face brutal retaliation, from financial ruin to outright violence. His unchecked power reflects enduring anxieties of mid-century labor corruption, and some suggest his character draws from figures like Anthony Tough Tony Anastasio, a Brooklyn union boss with alleged mob ties, though no conclusive evidence confirms this link. Friendly's downfall begins when longshoreman Terry Malloy refuses to remain quiet, exposing the system's decay. The film's message ignited discussion, with certain audiences interpreting it as a defense of whistleblowing, while others viewed it as a critique of entrenched oppression. Friendly endures as one of cinema's most formidable antagonists, a man who commanded through intimidation only to be undone by resistance. James Mason as Philip Van Dam. Philip Van Dam, the shrewd adversary of North by Northwest, epitomizes a brand of villainy shaped by precision and control. Released on July 28, 1959, Alfred Hitchcock's thriller introduced audiences to a spy who wields misdirection as adeptly as any weapon. Penned by screenwriter Ernest Lehman, Van Dam's character operates under the cover of a polished businessman, hiding callous intentions behind genteel charm. His knack for distorting perceptions allows him to frame Roger Thornhill, an unsuspecting advertising executive, as a government operative, an intricate subterfuge that propels the film's suspense. Van Damme's most unnerving trait is his serenity. He never lapses into outbursts or unbridled aggression. Instead, he orchestrates events with clinical precision. His attempt to do away with Thornhill at a desolate intersection, where a crop duster strikes without warning, reveals his preference for indirect, methodical tactics. The scene's stark openness contrasts with the concealed nature of his machinations, emphasizing his expertise in deception. His influence spreads to his personal connections, especially with Eve Kendall, a covert operative entangled in his plans. He exploits trust as an instrument, twisting devotion into a tool for exploitation. Even in the film's crescendo atop Mount Rushmore, Van Damme remains collected as he orders Thornhill and Kendall's end, viewing human life as indispensable currency. His unwavering composure, despite imminent unmasking, solidifies his status as one of the screen's most polished yet lethal antagonists. North by Northwest received 3 Academy Award nominations, attesting to its lasting resonance. Though Van Damme lacks the blatant menace of other scoundrels, his subdued cruelty and painstaking schemes render him one of Hitchcock's most insidious inventions, an opponent who never raises his voice but consistently maintains the advantage. Basil Rathbone as Sir Guy of Gisborne. Hardly any antagonist from Hollywood's golden age displayed cold-blooded efficiency quite like Sir Guy of Gisborne in The Adventures of Robin Hood, 1938. Diverging from Prince John's scheming maneuvers, Sir Guy was a warrior, unemotional, calculating, and incessant. His devotion to oppression was not merely political, it was profoundly personal, marking him as Robin Hood's most direct and lethal rival. Every move, from ruthlessly executing Prince John's edicts to his dogged chase of Maid Marian, underscored his brutality. What elevated Sir Guy was his prowess. While many villains relied on subordinates, he proved himself a formidable swordsman, capable of meeting Robin Hood head-on. His clashes with Errol Flynn in the film were carefully orchestrated, ranking among the most remarkable fight sequences of the 1930s. Some enthusiasts hypothesize that Rathbone, a skilled fencer outside the camera's gaze, might have toned down his ability to accentuate Flynn's triumphs, although no hard proof verifies this. Visually, Sir Guy radiated intimidation. His somber, rigid armor clashed with Robin Hood's lively green, emphasizing his function as the instrument of tyranny. His deliberate speech and threatening bearing reinforced his unrelenting demeanor. While Prince John plotted stealthily, Sir Guy struck with punishing accuracy, establishing him among the most formidable adversaries from classic cinema. Conrad Veidt as Major Strasser. Major Heinrich Strasser in Casablanca, released on November 26, 1942, emerges as one of the Golden Age's most disquieting malefactors. A high-ranking Gestapo officer, Strasser isn't merely imposing Nazi authority. He's stamping out resistance, targeting Victor Laszlo to extinguish any flicker of rebellion. His unyielding resolve and absolute self-assurance make him a force of pure ideological threat. Unlike the brazen or deranged adversaries of that time, he acts with deft strategy, certain of his inherent dominance. His confrontations with Rick Blaine are especially fraught. He believes Rick can be frightened into compliance only to discover his fatal miscalculation. The culminating clash at the airport, where Rick fires the first shot, defied conventions for its era. Under the production code, protagonists seldom killed outright unless during wartime, rendering Strasser's abrupt death unusually definitive. Some propose this moment broke new ground precisely because Casablanca served as wartime propaganda, underscoring the notion that fascism could be overcome. His downfall wasn't merely a plot crescendo, it was a symbolic stand against oppression. Even now, Strasser endures as a stark testament to the genuine atrocities that informed his portrayal. Claude Rains as Prince John. Prince John in The Adventures of Robin Hood, 1938, is widely recognized as a cunning aristocratic malefactor in cinematic lore. Unlike the sword-swinging enemies Robin Hood normally battles, John's arsenal is manipulation. He takes advantage of England's crown while King Richard languishes in captivity, impoverishing the realm through extortionate taxation to solidify his authority. His regime flourishes on deceit. He lets the Sheriff of Nottingham impose his decrees as he stays behind the scenes, shirking open confrontation. Rumors hint that his cowardice stemmed from historical portrayals of the real Prince John's inadequacies, though this point is debated. His demise comes with King Richard's return, leading to his capture rather than a crafting of his own escape. Devoid of his fortune and henchmen, John is rendered feeble, his conspiracies disintegrating in moments. His notoriety as an antagonist rests on his treachery, underscoring that wearing a crown alone cannot confer true leadership. Joan Crawford as Crystal Allen. Crystal Allen in The Women, 1939, personifies a pitiless determination without ever raising her voice. A department store saleswoman with ambitions far beyond her means, she ensnares a wealthy suitor through charm and carefully plotted deceit. Unlike the grotesque fiends of horror or the gun-toting criminals of that period, Crystal's malice is psychological. She dismantles adversaries through cunning and acerbic wit. Her entanglement with Stephen Haynes isn't merely opportunistic, it's a deliberate power play, carried out with neither hesitation nor regret. While other miscreants might meet their downfall through bloodshed or incarceration, Crystal's ruin is subtler. Discarded once she loses her utility, she suffers a fate more harrowing than vengeance: obscurity. Some speculate her persona was an oblique jab at Hollywood's social climbers, though no direct evidence supports this view. Regardless, her unabashed drive cements her as one of the Golden Age's most ingenious foes. If you've enjoyed this video, please leave a like and comment. Also consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell to get notified of our new videos each week. Thanks for watching.